Hi, you guys. I want to do this video while it's still daytime and I'm not tired like I was last night. So, um, before I start, I think I just told Brandon, but I just saw a flash vision of what I believe is Trump Tower. I was just laying there in bed. I saw it off to my left. It was just one building. It was kind of dark in color, so I don't know if that means anything or it was just dark so that I could see it. Um, so I get up and I go to the laundry room. I come back and then I see the news reporting that Trump is being briefed on the Russian hacking right now. And when I looked at the TV, they did have two soldiers outside standing um, in front of or next to two mirrored uh, tall rectangular columns. So I don't know if there's anything that's going to come of that, but I'm going to keep my eyes on it, okay? And after that, I did pray. Um, I was just getting up and getting ready, so I just said my prayer. So if there's anything to come out of that, I don't know. You guys, I want to share experience that I believe that the Lord was trying to show me that um, we are going to suffer some persecution, and that we need to have a good footing. Let's see if I got my phone. Um, on December 31st, after I had that vision of Turkey, and I'm not sure if there's a connection, but in the research, there is a little bit of a connection. Um, I had a vision. I had the vision of Turkey, and then I didn't mention this, but then I moved to another room, and I saw what I believe was a firework in the sky. Um, but after that, for about a good 15 minutes, my feet became very, very, very hot. And it wasn't like a sweating hot. Basically, I believe this might have been God trying to tell me something because one, my feet never get hot. I sleep with socks 365 days out of the year. I don't care if somebody has the heater on 100. My feet never get hot. So I was like, Lord, are you trying to tell me something? So for a second, it just felt like my feet, from my ankle down, both feet, they just had this warm sensation. And I almost discounted it. But I did ask her, I was like, what's going on? Like, because, I just had the vision and then my feet started getting hot. So, I never thought there might be a connection. So, anyway, um, the next day or a couple of days after, I was listening to a video and this guy mentioned, um, his name is Bear 049, I believe. Anyway, he was mentioning how the Pope uh, persecuted the Knights Templars, and I think I had paused it, and for days I couldn't find the message. I thought it was on somebody else's video. I was searching, and what's today? Today's 6th. So for days I was just searching for it, and for whatever reason, um, after me, I said, well, let me look it up. Let me go on Wikipedia. I did some research. I'll give you some of the notes that I made of the research. It's very interesting. Um, and then after I did all the homework, something told me to go back to this video because I was just trying to listen to something while I was doing laundry. And right where I stopped is him mentioning the Knights Templars. And I was like, who are the Knights Templars? Because I always thought they were a Masonic um, monk order. But if I'm not mistaken, the medieval Knights Templars were basically converted or merged into uh, the Catholic Church, if you will. So, aside from that, I did go to the Bible because I did feel like it was something supernatural. Um, I know there's an angel that has feet, brass feet of fire in Revelations 10, verse 1, and then also the armor of God. Um, Let me read it, because if there is some type of persecution coming, I think the Lord was trying to tell us that we need to be able to stand firm. Um, so the commentary on Ephesians 6:15, I guess let me read the verse. It's the whole armor of God. For time's sake, I will put the verse about the whole armor of God, you guys. The feet is important. Um, it says here, just in the commentary, real quick, the feet, the sandals of the Roman soldiers were often, they had nails on it to protect the feet and to help them in their footing. Also, so they could stand firm in battle. Christians are to have the principles of the gospels of peace and peaceful and pure gospel to facilitate them and aid them in their marches, and to make firm in the day of conflict with their foes. Um, we're not to be furnished with carnal weapons, but we are supposed to be furnished with the peaceful gospel of the Redeemer of Jesus Christ as we march on through the world. So I think we all kind of understand that. So what I found on the Knights Templars, um, the medieval Knights Templars, they um, their nickname was the Order of Solomon's Temple. They led crusades in the Holy Land. Um, they were considered to be like the first multinational corporation, or the first bankers, because they not only protected the pilgrims as they came from the bandits. They like held their possessions, gave them like a little certificate, and then when they returned, they would get that little certificate for their items. Um, so they had their headquarters was at the Temple Mount, um, and then they were like the poor. What's the name? They were like the poor fellow soldiers of Christ. Um, and then Saint Bernard came in and backed them, and then they gained power and authority, um, I guess territory. Also, they were at odds with another Knights military order, one of them being the Knights Hospitaller. And at one point, Jerusalem was recaptured by the Muslim forces, and the Crusaders regained the city of Jerusalem, without the aid of the temple. And a certain group of the Turks, I'm going to call them the K-Turks, recaptured it for 700 years. And then the British captured it from the Ottoman Turks in World War One. But while the K-Turks had recaptured the city of Jerusalem for 700 years, the Templars were forced to relocate, and they they had their resettlements all throughout Europe for the most part, and they lost their foothold on the Holy Land. So they lost their foothold, and they lost their they no longer had a defined mission. So the Pope proposed to merge them with the Hospitaller Knights. And so the Grand Master of the Knights Templars met up with the new Pope while they were waiting on the night of the Hospitaller. And they were talking, and they were talking about an ousted Templar who had some charges against him, and the charges were false. And so the Pope said to the Grand Master of this Knights Templar, he said, well, let me inquire of the King Philip, to help in the investigation, or I guess help to clear the name of the Templar, I guess before they merged the two. So Pope Clement sent for the help from King Philip in the investigation. But the king was indebted to the Templars from his wars with the English. So on Friday the 13th, which they believe this is why this date is so superstitious, King Philip ordered the Templars to be arrested based on false claims that their recruits were worshiping John the Baptist, false idols, Baphomet, homosexuality, fraud. One that caught my eye was the John the Baptist, and Baphomet, of course. And the Pope had to enforce it. And so one of these guys was like, this is wrong, and y'all gonna meet God on Judgment Day. And the Pope, who enforced the law, and the king, like, died a month later. But one of the things that they did to torture the Knights Templars was a thing called foot roasting. And aside from burning them on the stake, I will tell you, eventually, the Knights Templars were dissolved into I guess, into a new order, which is now a Masonic order. If I'm getting this right, if you know more about it, just let me know. But they were dissolved into the order, and only the few that were like, who had gone underground, came in, and they were dissolved into this new Masonic order, and they were renamed the Order of Christ. But one of the torture methods was foot roasting, and this just really, because I've been thinking about the Pope lately, and I don't know, you guys. Just one more thing. One of these guys, I saw another video, and I think it all kind of ties in. He was talking about there being perhaps talking about the first tarot card on the Economist 2017 magazine. He was talking about how there'll be a war, because it shows the Soviet Union, which is a communist nation, versus the church, which there would be some type of war. And then he talked about the letter on the door. What's the name of the letter? Somebody like famous wrote it. I want to say he was a Mason, but perhaps he wasn't. But he spoke out against like persecution and like heresy. I don't want to get into all that, but I just want to let you know that I believe that the Lord was warning us that a great persecution is coming, and that we just need to not only have our feet stood on solid ground, but we need to be prepared to spread the gospel. And of course, we need to have on the whole armor of God. All right, this is getting long. I love you. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Okay?